Inside Michigan Football is presented by Meijer. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spartan Stadium in East Lansing. And this is the aftermath of a Michigan State 37-33 victory over Michigan on the road to two unbeaten teams. And I'm Jim Ransletter along with John Jansen. This one started out really in Michigan's favor. The first possession of the game, the Spartans turn it over, and R.J. Moten makes a great interception.
He does, and you know, it just shows Michigan State was driving. They got a couple of first downs. They go deep, which we knew they had big play potential. So obviously Michigan is defending that. R.J. Moten comes up with a great interception, gives Michigan the ball back, even though it's backed up. And it didn't start off great for Michigan because all of a sudden Michigan is, backed up. They get a procedure penalty, which on the 3-yard line, it doesn't really matter. They're trying to use the snap count to their advantage. And obviously, first couple of downs, not great, but on third down.
Oh, that third down was a beauty. It was the fourth longest touchdown pass in Michigan history. And Andrel Anthony, a native of East Lansing, decides to come to the party. His first catch is a 93-yard touchdown. And you talk about a great start for the Wolverines. A interception and then a long touchdown pass to go up 7-0.
And everybody had talked about how Michigan wasn't explosive. And we've seen some explosive plays throughout the year, but to be able to have a player that really hasn't had much of an impact on this season step up and play such a big game, it's great to see, especially moving forward. But Andrel Anthony, that was a coming out party for him, and it's too bad that it got overshadowed today.
And the Spartans did come back. Walker, their running back, and Thorne, their quarterback, really did a nice job of getting it back in it. But the one thing Michigan did in the first half was they answered. Harbaugh talks about he likes his team because it never flinches. Well, they didn't flinch in the first half. They came back and still got a lead, and Anthony got his second touchdown of his career in that first half.
Yeah, he did, and Michigan was up 10-0. They let that lead slip away. They find themselves down 14-13 after a couple of field goals, and that's really, to me, one of the big concerns that we had coming into this game is getting into the red zone and having to settle for field goals instead of getting touchdowns. They end up going in at halftime up 23-14, basically on the back and the legs of Andrel Anthony.
And that was the key the whole game, really. Jake Moody was outstanding because he was able to kick 4 field goals. He was 4 for 4. But when Michigan was in the red zone, they settled for 3 rather than getting the touchdown. If they get a couple of touchdowns instead of the 4 field goals, all of a sudden this game gets away from Michigan State a little bit. They're playing a little bit more desperate. As it was, they always kind of stayed in touch.
And I tell you what, Jake Moody going into halftime and Mel Tucker using all of his timeouts, continuing to kick field goals. And the rule is, right, as soon as that ball is snapped, hey, you go through the entire process. Snap, hold, kick. He did it, timeout. Did it again. The fourth time, everybody's thinking, can he do it 4 in a row? Hats off to Jake Moody for having the discipline and, just the ability to continue to connect on those.
And at halftime with Michigan in the lead, they're getting the ball to open the second half, too. So you're really feeling pretty good about this game on the road. You've kind of taken the crowd out of it to some degree.
Well, they did, and you mentioned it, going into halftime 23-14, and coming out, you get the ball, you're going to have to do something. They didn't on the first possession, but they eventually got the ball back, and they were able to make some plays to go up 30-14. But this is just what we've been talking about, and what we knew could cause Michigan some harm is getting in the red zone and having to settle for field goals. You've got to continue to get Eric all involved. He had 10 catches today, which obviously that's a benefit, but down inside the red zone, you've got to use his size. You've got to use that to your advantage. Guys like Cornelius Johnson, we need to see more of him. We saw from Andrel Anthony the fact that he could go up and get a ball in the end zone. That is something we haven't seen in some time.
When you're in the red zone, you got to get 6. You can't settle for 3, and maybe at the end of the day, Michigan's going to look back on this game, the opportunity to not convert those red zone trips. Ultimately, that's going to cost you, and it did against Michigan State. Don't go away. When we come back, John and I will talk second half when Michigan State won this football game. That's next on Inside Michigan Football.
Yeah, it hurts. I mean, this is our rivalry game. This is a top 10 matchup, and we didn't come out with the win today, so it's gonna suck.
That's a gut punch. All games matter, but this one's a notch above, and we give it our all, they give it their all. We made plays, they made plays. We made mistakes, they made mistakes. The way it shook out, they just came out on top.
We're chasing perfection, and today we definitely weren't We weren't close to that, hence the result. So we just got to do better. Like I said, back to the drawing board, day by day.
It hurts, it stings, but we just got to ask ourselves what are we going to do about it. There's a lot more ahead of us. We're not done. We're far from done. The season's far from over. We still have a very, very, very high chance at winning this title. So that's the only thing that's on my mind right now.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you in part by Meijer, official sponsor of Michigan Athletics and proud sponsors of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Gardner White, Detroit's #1 furniture and mattress store. Back to throw. McNamara throws. Ball is caught! Touchdown, Michigan!
I love Jake Moody, but I see him way too often kicking field goals when touchdowns are what's necessary.
We knew we had to finish in a red zone, and there's a couple times there that we stalled out, and right there, we got to be able to capitalize on those drives.
Missed opportunities out there. We had the fumble late in the game. Just a few times where we kind of just shot ourselves in the foot. And, in games like that, it'll come back and haunt you, which, as you can see, it did. But sometimes this is how the game goes.
They give it to Walker. Tries the middle. He's through the middle. He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan State.
We got at each other's back. We're not going to let anybody fall too low. Obviously, even when we win, we're not going to let anybody get too high. So, man, it's just our brotherhood, man. We're going to pick each other up.
We still got a lot of our schedule left. We still got a couple of big games left on our schedule. And our goal is still right there. We just got to keep winning, keep improving, hitting the drawing boards, cleaning up some things that we need to, and move on next week.
Welcome back to East Lansing and Spartan Stadium. Michigan, second half, really, I think, kind of took control of the football game, it seemed like early on. They got the ball to begin the second half. They didn't do anything with it, but in their second possession, they did something with it and built a 30-14 lead.
You would think being up 16 points, yeah, that feels good, but it almost felt like they were comfortable with it. And you can't ever be comfortable in a game like this. Michigan State's able to put together 2 scoring drives. They convert two-point conversions, and now all of a sudden it's a tie ball game. But I think the concerning things, other than not being able to convert in the red zone, is the defense getting caught off guard and having an illegal substitution. If it happens once, you don't want to accept it, but you can live with it. But when it happens time and time again, that's something that has to be corrected.
And strategically, Michigan State did that. They saw Michigan in the past substitute quite a bit. And so they go quick snap, and really it caught Michigan's defense off guard a couple times. Walker, their running back, was able to score while Michigan really is out of position, hasn't even set up.
Well, and you're going against a really good running back in Kenneth Walker. We knew coming in that he had explosive potential, and he goes for 5 touchdowns against you. There are times in this game where they had him in the backfield on his very first touchdown. I think it was a 27-yarder. They had him stopped, and they broke contain. They weren't disciplined enough, and that's what will cost you in games like this.
How much, you talk about it, Walker's a good back. We know that. How much is it his missed tackles, and how much of it is Walker?
Well, it's hard to say that because a lot of it is just the fact that Kenneth Walker is really good. But when you have a chance to get him in the backfield, there were a couple of times Josh Ross came on a blitz, on a run blitz, and he was able to get a hit on him. But he's that type of back that is big enough that you can't tackle him with one guy, and you've got to hustle to the football. And I think that's just where Michigan's defense came up a little bit short.
We talked a little bit about the postgame with Dan Dierdorf, woulda, shoulda, coulda. And in many ways, that's what this game was for Michigan. Michigan State did do what they needed to do on big plays. They converted a 4th down. They did some things that they really were able to win the game because they made plays. Michigan didn't, and that's one of the things I think you got to look at. And the other thing is you don't make mistakes at critical moments. And Michigan, one of the biggest mistakes, they got the ball with a 3-point lead, midfield. I think the opportunity to put the game away, and on the first possession, a bad exchange between J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corman. Ultimately, that, to me, was the game.
Well, and a lot of people want to see J.J. McCarthy. He's had his opportunities, but sometimes when you're talking about a freshman coming in the game, you get freshman moments. You don't want them to happen at big times or in big games, but that's what happened today.
And that fumble, Michigan State took over, and then they went down and scored, and they got the lead. And at that point, Michigan was able to try to come back, but they threw a game-ending, basically, interception intended for a tight end. Cade McNamara set all kinds of records in the pass game, but almost 200 yards on the ground for Walker. That did Michigan in, and they lose the game to Michigan State 37-33.
When it comes down to it, Michigan didn't make enough plays to win this game. Michigan State did. Whether it's Kenneth Walker in the ground game, it's being able to pick up, third down conversions in the second half, or a great interception by a Spartan defender to end the game.
Don't go away. When we come back, Jim Harbaugh will talk to John Jansen about this game in East Lansing and the loss to Michigan State. Stay with us. That's next on Inside Michigan Football.
We're just going to work harder and come out on top, whatever it takes. That's the motto. That's what we've been talking about all year. So just going to go out here and just work hard and make sure we're on top this time.
How tough is that to do emotionally after a day like this?
I feel like emotions is probably going to play a lot in our favor. Where it's anger that's going on a bit. I mean, anger's been going on, and we're just ready to attack, and emotions. I feel like emotions probably going to be in our favor for sure.
Today's conversation with Jim Harbaugh is brought to you by Meijer, official sponsor of Michigan Athletics and proud sponsors of local sports teams across the Midwest.
Coach, what was the message to the team after the game?
I was proud of them. Thought they fought hard. We got to use this didn't go the way we wanted it, and we got to use it to build our resolve, strengthen our resolve. I think we got a very, very, very good football team, maybe a great team, but we're gonna have to win out.
You guys were up 30-14. What changed on the field?
Yeah, they scored 2 touchdowns. They got 2 2-point conversions. We left the guy get behind us and didn't tackle the way we need to.
Andrel Anthony, obviously a big game for him, clouded a little bit because of the loss, but just talk about his performance and what you saw from him.
Yeah, Andrel, he had a great game. Tremendous competitor, and coming back here as a true freshman, hometown, big stage. Really proud of Andrel.
And then last thing, your play of the quarterback position. Obviously, Cade had some good numbers. There were some costly turnovers. Your thoughts on that quarterback position?
Yeah, JJ had gone in, and the handoff with Blake, didn't go. It was either putting it on the side. It wasn't a clean handoff. We got that fumble, and then we had the interception at the very end.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
To jump on the back of what Jim Harbaugh said post-game, Andrel Anthony was just outstanding, really coming out party. But again, the mistakes. Ultimately, the mistakes are what you really look at when you don't win a football game. And it's not just the fumbles and the turnovers. It's like illegal procedure. It's like false starts. You're 3rd and 1, you get a false start. You were going to go for it. You maintain possession. You get a false start. Boom. Now you got to kick it away. You give Michigan State a possession.
Or it's 3rd and 8, and all of a sudden it changes everything for Michigan State when you have an offsides on the defense. Now it's 3rd and 3. Instead of looking at a pass, now you bring Kenneth Walker back into the fold, and it makes it that much more difficult to defend this Michigan State offense.
I mean, it was a combination of things that cost Michigan this football game, but let's be honest, it was a lot of mistakes, a lot of little miscues here and there. And you can't do that in big games, particularly on the road, and expect to win. That's just not going to happen.
No, and there were so many uncharacteristic mistakes. You even think about Brad Robbins, the fact that he mishandled a snap on a punt, tried to pick up the first down, but just came up a little bit short. Those are all of the things that at the time, they feel like they could cost you, but in the end, they ultimately do.
Yep, the preponderance of mistakes ultimately in the end weighed Michigan down, and they couldn't come up with a victory. Don't go away. When we come back, we'll have more Inside Michigan Football.
This should be used as something to grow together from, both in our play and in our bond. So just continue to grow, learn from it, and come back swinging.
This one's going to sting, but we got to be able to respond. I got to be able to really help my teammates move on, and I got to be better as well. And it's going to come down to just us responding, and we still have a lot of stuff in front of us, and we're going to keep that in mind.
Time now for our Al Rose Steel Man of the Week. Here's Ed Kengerski.
Andrel Anthony etched his name, engraved his name into the annals of the rivalry. he made his first career catch, a 93-yarder, the second longest passing play in Michigan history, and the longest play from scrimmage in 112 meetings between the two rivals.
Just a starting point, building point. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, I had a good game, but I mean, like, we didn't win, so like, it's tough.
Behind closed doors, Anthony has been coming on, so his performance was no surprise internally.
Great catch over a defender, and the Wolverines retake the lead.
He's made incredible catches in practice, and I'm just happy that he was able to take that to the field. And I'm super proud of Andrell. He had a crazy game, and I have a ton of confidence in throwing to him, and going forward, looking forward to doing that more.
As much as he did, Anthony says he coulda and shoulda done more.
We definitely learned from that. At least I did. I mean, like, I should have stepped up, helping the team. I mean, like, picking them up type of thing like that. At the same time, I mean, the team showed that, like, they'll fight back. I mean, we were down. I mean, it's tough. It's less than a minute to go. I mean, everybody's still just trying to rally and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm proud of this team, even though, I mean, yeah, it hurts, especially for me from East Lansing. But, I mean, we're going to bounce back for sure.
The most interesting twist to this story, Anthony is from East Lansing, and he's only a freshman, giving him plenty of time to write the perfect ending to this story. For Inside Michigan Football, I'm Ed Kingerski.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you in part by Meijer, official sponsor of Michigan Athletics and proud sponsors of local sports teams across the Midwest. And by Gardner White, Detroit's #1 furniture and mattress store. John Jansen, now you look forward, but before you can look forward, I think you got to look back and you got to learn from this game because that's the way you get better. You have to learn and you have to quit making the little mistakes. You got a new weapon in Andrell Anthony. There's all kinds of things that you can take from this. It hurts because of the loss, but it's one of those things you can build on.
Well, it is, and you got to take a look offensively, defensively, special teams. This was a team effort in this loss. You got to correct those mistakes. And then you also, I think we're going to be asked the question, where was Andrell Anthony in the last 7 games? Well, as a freshman, you've got to earn the trust of your coaches to get on the field. We've seen, players like Dalen Baldwin. We've seen a lot of other guys get opportunity because coaches tend to trust some of the veteran guys a little bit more. Andrell Anthony kept working in practice. We've seen him make some of these plays in practice, and now all of a sudden he shows out in a game like this. So it's an opportunity to be able to build on what you found in Andrell Anthony. And now, what does that allow Josh Gaddis to do?
And Eric All also, he had a career day in catching balls. We know the tight ends block really well, even though the rushing game was kind of spotty. The tight ends do a great job in the run game, but Eric All really showed up. He can be a weapon also.
So you've got now a weapon in that mid-range of Eric All. And we talked in the pregame about being efficient in that 10 to 20-yard area. We've seen Cade McNamara go deep a couple of times this year. He's been able to do that. We've seen him, obviously, with a lot of the checkdowns. He's been successful. That 10 to 20-yard range is really where you've got to utilize the tight ends. We saw that today. So Josh Gaddis can now use that as a weapon. He can use Andrell Anthony. Mike Sainristil has had some big catches. So you can start to put together some game plans, maybe a little bit differently moving forward because you found a few things that work.
And you talk about moving forward, and really simple. Moving forward for Michigan, you got to win out. You got to hope you get some help because Michigan State right now is in the catbird seat in the Big Ten East, but they've got to play Ohio State and they've got to play Penn State. Michigan has to play them both. So, yeah, Michigan needs some help. But if you're Michigan, you got to say, that's what we've got to do. We've got to win out to kind of reach the goals that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the season. That's the only way you can think.
Well, and the mental challenge for these kids is how do you get over an emotional loss like this? How do you make sure that Michigan State doesn't beat you twice by having a letdown against Indiana? This is a 12-game regular season. You play them one at a time and you add them up at the end. That's the mindset that these players have to have. Yes, this one hurts. It's going to sting. It's going to sting for as long as you can remember this game. But you've got to find a way to get over it because next week it's a one-game season. You got to find a way to beat Indiana. Then it's traveling to Penn State. Then it's Maryland. Then it's Ohio State. There's so much more for this team out there, and they've put themselves behind the 8 ball, but there's still a chance for them to be able to do what they want to do.
And we'll be here for it all, so make sure you join us next week. We'll go over Michigan, Indiana, right here on Inside Michigan Football.